Hi there, welcome back to the Recovery Ranger. I'm Dr. Miles Lewis, your host. I just want to make a quick video today. I want to talk about a myth. Suboxone. Is it evil or is it life-saving? Let me tell you what. Suboxone, the medication, is designed for opioid addiction in recovery. There's a lot of talk about it. It's been around for years. It's been very prevalent in the last 20 years as a very legitimate medication assistance in the recovery process of opioid addicts. They're even starting to use it in alcohol also. But let me break it down a little bit. Suboxone is the brand name. The drug consists of buprenorphine, which is a mild pain reliever. It's what they call a partial agonist. And then it's combined with another drug called naloxone, also known as Narcan, which is used to reverse the effects of opioid overdose. Police officers are carrying it around in their cars now. You can buy it at the local drugstore. And if you go to the emergency room in full opioid withdrawal, heroin, fentanyl is huge, hydrocodone, OxyContin, and all the others, morphine, you would get an immediate injection of not adrenaline, naloxone or naltrexone or Narcan, and it instantly reverses it if you can get there in time. And that's why a lot of officers now are carrying it. That's why families are carrying it. It's sad that we've come to this place, but it is saving lives. Now, what Suboxone is a combination of the buprenorphine, which delivers just a little bit of opioid, a partial opioid, to the receptors in the brain, mixed with the naloxone, which creates a ceiling. In other words, once the patient is on Suboxone and they're taking it properly and it's used the way it's supposed to be used and it's administered by a professional, etc., then it's an amazing medication. I have seen it literally save people from a lifetime of heroin or any other opioid. Now here's the rub. This is what I hear a lot. I hear families go, "Oh my God, no, we ain't touching that stuff. It's so dangerous. Every time my kid is on it, we tried it, and it makes them crazy. It makes them whack out. It makes them do this. It makes them do that." And what ends up happening with that patient is they refuse to get on it, or their families refuse to pay for it or help them with it. The addict sometimes even believes it. But what's happened is they, on the streets, people will get Suboxone, and they'll use it when they can't find their heroin or their pills. And so they use it as a filler. They don't take it properly. They're not taking consistent doses. They bought it on the street. God knows what they're getting. And then when their families catch them having relapsed, they blame it on the Suboxone. They say, "Oh no, it's my medication. Oh God, that stuff is so bad." When what actually happened was the opioid addict relapsed and they're back to their old behavior of, then you go into withdrawals and then addicts go crazy. And I know that because I'm a recovering opioid addict. And it's the withdrawals that get you. You're miserable, you're screaming, you're yelling, you're cussing your family out, anything you can do to not have to face responsibility and to maybe squeeze a couple more bucks out of mom or dad or the brother, sister, the spouse, whatever it is. Suboxone, taken properly, is an amazing, life-saving opportunity, and it has paved the way for addicts to achieve recovery when otherwise they never would have. The most common drug up to Suboxone was methadone, and most people have heard of methadone, and not everybody's necessarily familiar with it. A lot of famous people overdosed on methadone, in the last, 20 years. I think of Anna Nicole Smith overdosed on methadone. Her son overdosed on methadone, and what happens is methadone is a full opioid. It has a very extended half-life, which means it's in your system a lot longer. Yet it doesn't create the same euphoria as, say, a heroin or an OxyContin or something like that. And so what happens is people get on methadone, and that's fine. It's still highly regulated. I think you still have to be at the clinic at 7 a.m. each morning and take your little dose, which is fine if you can do that, but Most people in recovery are trying to get back to work and support their families and go to their AA meetings or whatever their recovery support is, and it literally sets the person up for failure. Okay, that's chink number one. The chink in the armor number two is because the half-life is so long, the addict or the patient will use the methadone, but they don't get that euphoria that they're expecting from their heroin or whatever, from their opioid, and so they take more of it. They never are going to achieve that buzz. That's not what it's for. But, the addict brain, that's the way the addict brain functions. So if they get a little bit of a buzz, which they would off methadone, they want more, that brain wants more, that brain wants more, they're trying to achieve that euphoria, and it never comes. And what they do is they end up overdosing from methadone. And they just go to sleep, and it's over. It's the end. It's done. So buprenorphine, or the treatment of Suboxone, came along, and it's been around for a very, very, very long time. I think since the mid or late 60s. It was, my understanding, it was originally developed as a mild pain reliever for soldiers in the field. And what they discovered very quickly is, it was great for headaches. If a soldier gets a headache or whatever, he hits his head or got a little boo-boo on his elbow. But it didn't help when your arm got blown off. So very quickly it got put on the shelves. It's just a medication. It was there. It was being used a lot in Europe, the buprenorphine part of Suboxone as a mild pain reliever. And then I'm going to say in the late 70s, the government went to the drug companies and said, hey, do you got anything other than methadone that could be safe? And I think Merck first developed the combination of buprenorphine, and I could be wrong. I don't know. Don't hold me to that. But when prescribed by a physician, when the patient is under care and taking early recovery very seriously, and they're not using any other drugs, and they're not using Suboxone as a filler, it is an amazing medication. There's another drug where it's just straight buprenorphine, which is also known as Subutex. That's a brand name. And that's used, there's no Narcan in it, so the person, I guess theoretically, could get a little buzz. You could crush it up and snort it or shoot it or whatever, and you could probably obtain a little euphoria. But it's still very mild, and again, you're not using it properly. You're not in recovery, if that's really what you're doing. And that's why it's a good idea for addicts in early recovery not to be on Subutex, T-E-X. They need to be on Suboxone, where it's got that ceiling, you've got that Narcan, and so what happens is it delivers just enough opioid to the receptors to bring the person to normal, but you can't get high. You can take your whole box of little strips or pills or whatever you're taking, and you're not going to get high. People will say, oh yeah, that's not true, I got high on Suboxone. That's a lie. They relapsed. They relapsed on their other drug of choice, and they blamed Suboxone, and that's what I want to clear up with this video. Quit listening or taking advice about recovery from the addict in your life who hasn't achieved recovery. And it's amazing to me, especially as a recovering addict myself, and I see it every day, and it's one of the things that helps it's good for my recovery. It keeps me sober. I see this stuff and I'm like, oh my God, I remember I used to say that kind of crap. But talk to professionals, talk to people who've been there, and get the real skinny. Quit listening to your adult child excuse himself out of his crazy behavior or his irresponsible behavior. The dude relapsed. It's not the Suboxone. You could take the whole bottle and not wig out. Okay, now let me go back to Subutex. Or girl, whatever. Dude, gal, whatever. Subutex, remember, that's just the straight buprenorphine. There's no ceiling. There's no blocker in it, the Narcan. It's also very useful in cases where, say, the female addict who's trying to achieve recovery is pregnant. Narcan's not good for baby. But buprenorphine is okay. The baby is gonna be born with drugs in their system. They've got buprenorphine, which is a partial agonist. It's an opioid, but these neonatal centers, they know what to do. And of course, that's something that the patient would disclose early on. I've worked with a lot of women who got pregnant on Suboxone, and their addiction physician instantly switched them to Subutex. Full disclosure, you're telling your OBGYN everything. Everybody, it needs to be in your case file so that it can be dealt with properly. And yeah, your kid's going to probably be born a little buzzing, and it's a very serious issue. And I've had that in my family. I've seen it firsthand, and it's not good. But having access to buprenorphine, whether it was in the Subutex form or the Suboxone form, it saves people's lives when it's taken properly, under strict supervision, under care, recovery care, and guidance and support systems. And that includes the families. The families got to wake up, because I've seen families believe their adult addict, go, oh my God, no, the last time we tried to get him on that one time and he always flipped out. And of course the addict never got honest with mom or dad. So they finally enter rehab totally against Suboxone. Oh my God, no, that's that stuff that makes my kid nuts, crazy. And the kid never fesses up, the adult child never fesses up. Oh, hey, by the way, remember those times I was lying? Those were times I'd really relapsed. And so the patient never gets Suboxone when they really need it. And after about 4 to 5 weeks, they're gone. Relapse. Listen to this number. This is a real number. I didn't come up with this. This is a government number, NIDA, I think, National Institute on Drug Abuse. They do a lot of research, and you should check their website out. 88% of all opioid addicts seeking recovery that are using Suboxone to help that process along succeed. Opioid addicts that will not use any medication assistance, be it Suboxone, Subutex, or even methadone, have about a 12% success rate. The brain's not ready. Here's the other myth. Oh, I don't want to replace one drug for another. A person's coming off of whatever, a gram a day of heroin or OxyContin or whatever the opioid is. I don't want to replace one with the other. I'm just going to go cold turkey. That's wrong thinking. It's stupid. It's a setup for a relapse, and I promise you it's coming, because that's not what we've done to the brain. Opioid addiction is its own medical category. So if you're an opioid addict and you really think you're going to do it cold turkey, and I'll tell you what, I've been in this business for 20 years now, and we've worked with thousands of opioid patients. I've seen 2 pull it off. That means 2 guys, two men in particular. I've never seen a woman do it. Not that they can't. Try. You might die, though. Why don't you just listen to the professionals and you'll live. One guy did it and was stuck on the couch for 3 months. He couldn't even come to group. Couldn't function at all. We literally had to bring him food, but he was hell-bent. He was one of those families where his family thought Suboxone was the worst thing since, whatever, Russia invading Ukraine. But he pulled it off. And I kept telling him, dude, why are you doing this to yourself? You don't have to do this to yourself. You don't have to go through this misery, because what happens is most opioid addicts won't go through that misery. They'll lead themselves up to, no, I'm not going to take anything. I don't want to trade one drug for another. I don't want to trade one drug for another, until they just go relapse. They don't trade anything. They just go back to what they knew. And then they die. Another guy, similar story, but here's the great news. One of the guys, I'm thinking of 2 guys. One guy has now been sober for about 6 years and very successful. He runs his own business. He's doing awesome. And another guy had been sober for just celebrated 10 years. He's got kids. He's back in his children's lives. He's got his work. He's just doing awesome. Those are the exceptions, people. Opioid recovery doesn't have to be that difficult, and you have to look at it from a recovery perspective. You're not replacing one drug with another. You're transitioning from opioids. Let's say, you're up here with opioids. It's about as bad as it gets, and it's ugly, and everybody knows withdrawal is so miserable that it's unlikely you're going to make it to say normal before you're gonna be so miserable you're gonna go use again. Suboxone allows you to make that transition into some normalcy. You're not high. You're medicated. We don't think bipolar patients are high for taking Prozac. Now we've got medical marijuana, and we're one of those programs that allow that in specific cases. People aren't getting high. That's what normal feels like. But remember well, maybe you don't remember, and I probably need to do a new video on this because it has been a while since I've talked about it. But in opioid addiction, we literally just wipe out the brain, right? Nothing's working the way it's supposed to be working. So Suboxone allows the brain to come back online. It allows these receptors to start producing again, but it takes time. And so early on, the Suboxone patient sometimes will report to me, oh man, I'm a little worried because this morning in group I felt like I was buzzing because I had just taken my dose. That's not buzzing. That's what normal feels like. That means the person's brain is starting to recover. And it takes 18 to 24 months for the brain to recover. So you have to look at your recovery experience as a process. Then you're on Suboxone for a while. You're able to establish a good, solid foundation. You're building recovery principles. You're dealing with your junk. You're facing your traumas. You're learning new behaviors. You're learning about yourself. Then when the time is appropriate, and it could be a year, it could be 2 years. I've seen people on it for, 3 or 4 years. But here, that's not important. I know a doctor friend of mine. This is from my own personal experience. Earlier in my recovery, and I've never heard anybody say it any better. I remember asking him, so how long? What do you use to decide how to taper a person down off Suboxone? And he said, well, I'll give you an example. I got this patient. I think he was talking about me, actually. The more I tell his story, the more I think he's talking about me. That's how naive I was. He said, I got this patient, and he was opioid addict for 20 years, and now he's back being a husband, full-time husband. He's back taking care of his children. He's back at work in his career field, doing well and providing for his family. He goes to AA meetings. Why would I want to disrupt that? Right, so the answer is if your recovery people, your support people, your physician, your therapist, maybe a sponsor, some mentors, and you, the patient, get together and have that conversation, that's when it's time to taper. For one person, it might be 6 months. For another person, it might be a year and a half. For another person, and by the way, Suboxone is being thought of more and more and more as a long-term maintenance process than it is. Like some of these detox centers are still doing it. It's the most dangerous practice in the world, but it happens. It's an insurance thing. And keep watching our channel because I'm gonna do a little bit longer video than this one on insurance, the whole insurance ridiculousness. But you go to detox, you've been using whatever you've been using for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and they'll put you on Suboxone for about 5 days. So they give you a stabilizing dose when you first get there, and then the next day they give you less, and then the second day or the third day they give you less, and then they cut that in half, and then 5 days or so, they've got you completely off Suboxone. Where does that leave the patient? Better? No. Now the patient is in full-blown withdrawal, and then they discharge them. Bye-bye. Good luck. Hope you go into rehab. We don't know. We don't follow your continuum of care. We've referred you to a few places, but we don't have any idea what you do when you walk out of our doors because we don't care. We got paid. We got our insurance money. And insurance companies are paying a pretty penny for a Suboxone treatment. So it's its own thing. I mean, it's insane. I don't know what they're billing. Probably $300-400 a day to give the patient, one pill of Suboxone. And then the next day it's only a half. And then the next day it's a quarter. And the next day it's an eighth, and so forth and so on. Families of addicts, and I direct most of my videos and most of our lectures, or anything we do on video, we really direct it toward families because you guys play such a critical role in the person's recovery, whether you realize it or not. at the end of the day, you know, the addict is broke, right? The addict's got no money, no hope, no nothing, no home, no car. So it comes down to the families. And don't make recovery decisions based on what the addict is telling you, because the addict will set you up, and that's why you see failure after failure after failure and nothing ever works. Start taking advice from professionals. And I know, I mean, we hear it every day. I know sometimes it's hard to call a place and just get someone to talk to you, right? Are you coming here? Do you have insurance? Oh, you know, blah, blah, I've already spent 20 seconds with you. That's not how we do it at Justin's Lighthouse. Whether you're coming here or not, our administrator, who also happens to be my wife, who also happens to be in recovery for 2 decades, is, in fact, sometimes I think she spends too much time with people. But if you will call 405-248-2124, 405-248-2124, even if you're not going to come here, she will talk to you like you're a normal person. She will talk to you with love and with care and with great advice, and she will help you even if you don't come to Justin's Lighthouse. You need some guidance. You need some direction other than what you're getting from the addict, other than what you're getting from these places that just want to have these 30-day revolving doors, you know, get you in, get you out, how much money you got, what's your insurance look like. Keep paying attention to our channel, because I'm going to do one on that too. That is so critical. People think, oh, I got insurance, I'm going to get some treatment. Not really. You're going to get to go to a place for about 10 days, and then it's going to run out. I don't care what the insurance company told you before you went. They're going to run it out. They're going to expire it after about 7 to 10 days. And they're not going to keep working with you. They're going to kick you out. And remember, after 10 or 14 days, now you're in full withdrawal. 2 weeks is just enough to get your body stabilized, and that's if the opioid addict is on Suboxone. And then, and even if you are, what are you going? Are they going to send you out with some? No. Do you have any arrangements made up? No. It's just insane how this industry works. The good news is there's a lot of great programs out there that will treat you like you're human and actually follow the science. We actually know what we're doing, and we will get you through it, because we've been there. I was an opiate addict for a long time. But you don't have to come to Justin's Lighthouse, but wherever you go, start looking for long-term places. And of course, insurance doesn't pay for long-term places. But you want to live or you want to die? Because insurance places, these clinical 30-day places, they're, I think the national average is about 9% success rate. Long-term programs have a 90% success rate. There's a reason for that, because we follow the science. Thank you for watching on Suboxone. You can call us anytime. Check out our website, justinslighthouse.com. You can email me at dr.milesklewis@gmail.com. Or you can just call us, 405-248-2124. Wait a minute, let me say it again, 405-248-2124. Yes. So if you got any questions, whether it's opioid addiction, alcoholism, meth addiction, it doesn't matter. Just whatever the compulsion is. You're an overeater, you can't quit biting your nails, you can't quit, you know, the drugs and all those compulsions, those are just symptoms. You got way deeper emotional and behavioral issues. That's what we're about, is helping move you through that. And we include families in our process. Thanks for watching. I'm the Recovery Ranger, Dr. Miles K. Lewis. Check us out on Facebook under Miles K. Lewis. We have probably dozens, if not hundreds, of actual family groups that we shoot live every Thursday. But you can go to our timeline and you can just pick one out. They're all labeled. You know, you can perfectionism, shameful, shameless, codependency, whatever you want to watch. It's very interesting. They're very raw. We literally stick up a camera, just like I have done right now. We turn the microphone on, and that's group. You get to see it as it actually is. We do appreciate y'all. And keep watching for our videos. Thank you.